All right, good morning, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about before giving care, okay? Because we're cut short slightly with the pep rally at the end of the day, I won't get to the glove test most likely with you guys, so we'll start Tuesday off with a little hands-on activity, which is learning how to take off your gloves. So make sure you have your kids here with you on Tuesday. I gave you those kits at the end of class yesterday, and I told you, treat that like it's your book. Leave it in your backpack. Make sure you have it. If you don't have it with you, and we're hands-on testing, I take 5 points right off the top. Not to be a jerk, not to be mean, but because it's a responsibility that I can't be constantly giving you those supplies. Okay? So that's what's going on with today. Here's your gentle reminder that your fee is due on the 16th, which is 2 weeks from today. Don't forget you're off Monday this week and Monday of the following week. So you only have about 8 days to get that fee into me. And that might seem like a lot, but yeah, it doesn't work out that way. Current event is that group of people who I have established a blue color for. And if you don't know if you're one of them, it's over there. I have your period written at the bottom of the paper, and you're highlighted your different colors. So please make sure that you take a look at that and know what color you are. Let me do the objectives before I start with our video. Our video is kind of corny today, but you'll get the point because we are talking about before giving care. So our objectives today, there are quite a few of them. Conditions that are present to get a disease. A pathogen, what is it? Okay, there are 2 different types of pathogens that can cause you to get sick if you're helping somebody and you don't take preventive care for yourself. How to minimize that happening though. The difference between implied consent, okay, and just getting consent from somebody where they can verbalize with you. Because there is a difference there. Looking at what the Good Samaritan law is and how you're covered under it. And I'm going to wrap that up with one sentence when we get to that point. Okay? So that's our big things we're going to get through today. Well, let me go back to this video. Like I said, it's kind of corny, but you'll get the picture. I don't understand her role. sitting there reading some magazine, the People magazine. I've never seen a person die with a smile on their face like that guy. I still know it's there. No way. So I'm pretty sure you understand the point behind that video, right?
I'm not sure if I do.
We're talking about protecting yourself before you help somebody else out. That's the biggest key to it all. Okay, we're at page 9 in your packet. On page 9, at the top, 3 top safety priorities to follow in an emergency situation. Okay? The reason you need to follow those is to protect yourself from disease, number 1. Number 2, moving somebody carefully without you getting hurt or hurting them further. And number 3, you not worrying about getting sued if you do something the correct way. Those are 3 top priorities. And I really, really stress these. I'm so glad we do these at the beginning of teaching this information and not discard making sure that you know these, because that can happen from time to time. Things that are really important can get lost in the shuffle. What's the number 1 way you can protect yourself from getting sick or from getting a disease? The number 1 way. What can you do? What?
Not doing anything.
Yeah, sitting in a bubble. There used to be a movie on called The Boy in the Plastic Bubble.
I've seen that.
Yeah, have you? John Travolta did the original version of it. I was a boy. I was a very little kid when that came out, and that was a pretty dumb movie.
Thought it was funny.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. What? Yeah, seriously, what's the number 1 thing you can do from getting yourself sick? Well, not only wear gloves, huh?
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Wash your hands. In about another 3 or 4 weeks, the weather's going to really be changing, and bugs are going to be in the air, you know, and people are going to start getting sick. And the thing you can do to keep yourself from getting sick or getting wrapped up in that is washing your hands consistently. You know, because your younger sibling who goes to elementary school, they're sitting in a classroom and kids don't cover their face when they sneeze. They, if you've ever seen that video, it goes up to about a 30 feet radius around them. So they sneeze, somebody breathes it in, they go somewhere, they sneeze, those people breathe it in. All those people go home, sneeze at the dinner table or somewhere in the house. You guys all breathe it in. Next thing you know, everybody's sick. Because one little kid sneezed and didn't cover his face. That's when it ends up working. I see it happen every year. That and the fact that you beat yourselves down because you got all this work to do and you don't take care of it when you're supposed to. So, all right, preventing disease. First of all, you don't have anything to write down here yet, but there has to be either a bacteria or a virus, which really are bloodborne pathogens, present for you to get sick. Okay, they have to have something going on with them. Because some infectious diseases are very serious, we really, really emphasize the fact that you should be using gloves, that you should be using a mask or something before you would give, you know, CPR breathing, rescue breathing to somebody. All right? Disease can be spread 2 different ways. Okay? It can be spread through direct contact and indirect contact. Again, if you are an 11th or 12th grader and you've had health already, you've heard that when we talk about disease prevention. We taught you guys that. So keep that in mind. Standard precautions to take. Basically, it's pretty simple, guys. Wash your hands and use protective equipment so you don't get sick. And when there are spills and things like that, clean it up, take your gloves off accordingly, discard them, and make sure you still wash your hands even though you had gloves on. Okay? Make sure you do that. That's important. Let's talk about obtaining consent. There are two key pieces on there under the third bullet up there that I'll talk about. But people have the legal right to accept or refuse care. I talked to you about the story about the people that I encountered up in Frederick who didn't want my help, and how I got the store manager involved because the lady was sick. They refused my help, but they couldn't refuse his because he's the store manager and he knew she was sick. All right? But before you actually give somebody some care, you definitely want to make sure they either say okay or no, I don't want your help. The two things you should tell a person to get consent. Number one, you should identify who you are. And number two, you should ask them if they want your help. So that's the second question down in your note sheet. You're right, Catherine, this class is so quiet.
Is that good? Dang.
I like it, but I
That's
don't.
so quiet.
Like I like a little something going on. Maybe not with the phones, but I like a little.
Yell.
Huh?
Is that you and yell at someone?
No, I don't do that. I like an interactive class. That's what I'm about. That's me. Okay, everybody get those two? Types of consent, expressed and implied. And you've got two lines there. They want to know what is express consent and what is implied consent. Express consent is when somebody can look at you in a verbal or nonverbal way, let you know, yeah, it's okay to help me. A thumbs up, a shake of their head. Okay? Using sign language. It's okay for them to do that. That means, yeah, you can help me. Now, from that perspective, that person's conscious and able to do that. For a child or an infant, before you would help them, you would still identify who you are and what you would like to do in terms of helping them. But in this instance, you're going to talk to the parent or the guardian at that point and get the approval from them. Implied consent is slightly different. It's when somebody who essentially is not able to respond needs care, and you assume safely that it's okay to give them care. All right? So the actual definition, a person is unable to give express consent because unconscious or unable to respond, confused, mentally impaired, seriously injured, or seriously ill. Okay? That would mean that it's okay to give them care. The law assumes if a person could respond, he or she would say, yep, help me. You're not going to find somebody in cardiac arrest, wake up for 3 seconds that you ask them, hey, do you need help? And then pass back out. So it's implied that you were okay to help them. The other implication is if you encounter a child or an infant, which I don't know how you would encounter an infant in this instance, but if you encounter them and there's nobody there available to respond for them, that it's implied that you can help them. A crying baby type of thing that might need some help. It's okay to help them, even if nobody's there to say, yeah, it's okay. Does that make sense to all you guys? Yeah? No? Shake of the head? Nod? Give me some nonverbal or something? Okay, good. You're right, Catherine. Can't even get nonverbals. All right, let's talk about the Good Samaritan law. This last line here is what you're going to actually write down about the Good Samaritan law, but I'm going to teach to it. Once you begin care, you are legally obligated to continue unless somebody with more training arrives, unless you're too exhausted, or unless they refuse. If you quit without a valid reason, you could be legally responsible for that person if something happens more significant. So what the Good Samaritan law is, it's legal protection against negligence for people who willingly give emergency care without accepting anything in return. Now, in order for you to fall under that legal protection, you have to act in a reasonable way. You don't move them unless you have to. If they're conscious, you ask for consent to help them. You make sure you check for life-threatening situation first, and then you call 911. And finally, you would give care until one of those situations might arise in terms of you being too tired, if you're giving CPR, or a more qualified person shows up. So what do I want from you in terms of writing down what the Good Samaritan law is? This is what I want you to write down. It's a law that requires you to use common sense and a reasonable level of skill and not expect a reward. And that's what the Good Samaritan law is. Don't give any medical advice if you help somebody. Just help them. Don't expect to get a big fat check in the mail from somebody who you helped. That's unreasonable. Last period, because they asked questions, somebody said, what happens if somebody sends you something? What happens if they give you something for helping them? Well, I guess that's okay. You didn't ask for it, right? They can't hold you liable if they gave you something. Now, what I would do is I'd make sure that when they did give me something, there was some way of people knowing that they actually gave that to me without me contacting them for anything. Because, you know, people can be kind of slimy and say they gave you something and then in reality say, oh no, I didn't give that to them. They asked me for that. And then come after you if something happens to them. So you got to be real careful sometimes. I know it's a very, very shady thing, but that's the way our society is today, unfortunately. Everybody get that definition I gave you? The requirement of the law is to use common sense, reasonable level of skill, and not expect a reward. Okay, turning over to page 10. Let's talk about moving somebody. One of the most dangerous threats to a seriously hurt person is unnecessary movement. These are the 3 reasons that you should move somebody. The scene becomes unsafe. To get a person with a more serious problem. So you encounter a car accident and the person who is in the passenger seat is pinned against another car or a wall or something like that. But the driver, even though they're injured, you can move them to get to that other person. So that would be a reasonable thing. And then it's only necessary, if it's necessary, to give proper care. You can move somebody if you have to give them CPR. Unfortunately, you might encounter somebody, you don't know if they have a head, neck, or spine injury. Even based on the situation there, you can't tell completely, but you might have to roll them over or move them to give them CPR, and you don't know what the end result could be for them. You might save their life, but they may be paralyzed based on what happened to lead to them having cardiac arrest. In terms of limitations, I only need you to get down 4 of these, so you pick your 4. There's 7 up there. But these are things you need to think about before you actually start moving somebody. Is the scene too unsafe for you to jump into? Is that person too big for you to move? Do you have to move them too far, or the distance? Are you strong enough to move them? Can you get other people to help you? Is the person's condition such that you may not need to move them? Or do you need to move them to give them further help? And finally, is there any equipment or aids that you can use? So I only need you to pick out 4 of those. 4 that you feel are the most important, not the first 4, but maybe you think the first 4 are most important. I don't know. But those are things to think about. We good? Okay. Let's take a look at the moves. There are 4 moves that you can make with somebody who does not have a head, neck, or spine injury or suspected head, neck, or spine injury, and 2 that you would need to use in order to protect them because you think they may have a head, neck, or spine injury. All right? So let me give you some demos here of these. Come here, Dylan. Okay. So I've got Dylan here, and he potentially has hurt his left ankle. Face down. All right. I'm going to go over to him. I'm going to throw his arm around me. His ankle's off the ground, and I'm going to do what's called a walking assist. Okay? A walking assist. Now, if I wanted to, come here, Chris. Stay here, Dylan. Chris and I both could move him. Chris would get on one side of him, get an arm around him, and we both could move him. Basically, we could help him, okay? And then the other thing is 2-person seated carry, where Chris and I would both have our arms around him, and then we would get under his leg, and we lift him, and we can move him like this.
What about putting him on your back?
Getting to that next, okay? That's good. Thank you, Chris. Pack strap carry. It's kind of like, come on this side of me. It's kind of like the old fireman's carry, where he would be over my shoulders, and I would have him like this, and I would walk with him like this. Okay? That's the pack strap carry. And then, those are the first 3. The last one is an ankle drag, and I'm not going to do that with this. Oh, you guys cookies, by the way. The ankle drag. Somebody who is really large, and you don't think you can move them, you could grab them by the ankle and slowly move them along. Okay, slowly. You don't want to be running with them because, first of all, you probably could, but slowly move them along, inch them along. All right? So those 4 right there, there's no suspect of head, neck, or spine injury. I don't know if I can say that correctly. Now, the other 2, the clothes drag and the blanket drag, they're different because you think that there's possibly a head, neck, or spine injury. In that case, come here, Logan. Let me do this with him so I can show it to you better. Sit him down here. Sit down here with your facing that way. I would get up under here, under his shirt, or if there was a blanket, I would get the blanket up under here, and his head obviously would be lying back, so I would be able to give him support for his head, his neck, and as I move him along, try and keep his back as straight as possible. Thank you. All right? So you can either do it with his clothes if there's no blanket available, or if you can get a blanket underneath them, or they're lying on a blanket, you can pull that blanket the same way. But that's supporting the head, neck, and spine. All right? Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so just because you said you wanted us to talk more.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
So I went hiking one time, and I fractured my ankle while I was hiking,
Yeah.
and the helicopter couldn't come and get me.
Yeah.
So I basically had to hop the whole way back. It was like 3 more miles from like where I was at all the way to like the end. So I found these group of people, and one of the guys had actually taken like kind of like a class like this. Yeah. And they all took turns carrying me to to like the end of the hiking trail, and everything that you just said, they all did.
Oh, great. Did they use the 2-person seated carry for you, or?
No, because it was like it wasn't like a straight road. It was a hike.
So you're in the woods?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like a hike. It was at, I don't know where it was at.
Did he have you like this? Was he carrying you like this or something
No,
like that?
they're carrying me on their back.
Oh, pack strap.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you go, like, I'll give you a little quiz on the emergency moves sometime over the next week. And when you go to write that down, I let people write fireman's carry, I let them write backpack carry, because those are two things you think about. Now, we used to teach, we used to talk about and teach the old style fireman carry. If you watch TV or a movie or whatever, a fireman will pick somebody up and throw them over their shoulder. Yeah, that don't work, because you're weighted down to one side. That could turn disastrous on you. But, you know, now they use the pack strap or backpack carry where they got the person over their shoulder, disperse the weight evenly, and you can move. You may not be moving quickly, but you're moving the person, and it's a safer situation for both of you. So, any questions about any of that? Anything from you guys?
Move the one shoulder like also really back of your back because the way you have to move
Yeah.
the person up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You're hunched over to one side, yeah, you can hurt yourself. And that's why we go over, like, some of the things, if you think back to, where was it? If you think back to consideration, right here, we don't want you to get hurt. It's just, you know, we don't want you to get sick from helping somebody. We don't want you to get hurt from helping somebody. So you got to be careful. You take care of you first. What good are you to somebody if you get sick or get hurt? Because then somebody's going to have to take care of you. So, make sense? Okay, on the back of page 10, these 3 questions are there. What type of move would you use? There are 3 different scenarios that I've given you. Read each one of those and write down one of those types of move that I gave you that might help move that person based on whether they have a head, neck, or spine injury or their size. All right, let's see. Second period, 9, 10.
Yes, I still have situations becoming dangerous.
I think I wrote that one down. Yeah, we're going so much. We're kind of waiting for the phones. Yeah.
It's always back. Third one is, yeah.
I'd be like, hey, cool it.
Okay, let's see what you know, or what you think you know.
Pass on the clues.
Billy falls off the ladder he was using to get the gas can. On his back and can't move. Gas spilled everywhere, and the situation is becoming dangerous. Freenay, what kind of move would you maybe use? Yeah, absolutely, blanket or clothes drag. Blanket or clothes drag, because he fell off a ladder. We don't know if he hurt his head, neck, or spine.
But even if you hurt his back, wouldn't you hurt him even more by dragging him?
But you got to get him out of that situation because it's becoming dangerous with the gas that's spilled everywhere. You
So
know?
even if you're like he can't ever walk again?
Unfortunately, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Burn alive or just,
You know.
I would leave him.
Destiny attacks the basket to lay the ball up. She lands wrong on her foot, twisting her ankle severely. They stop the game because she could not get up on her own, but needs to be moved to resume the game. Go ahead, Dylan.
walking assist.
Walking assist. Yeah, you could use a 1-person, a 2-person. What's the other one you could probably do? You could do a patch strap carry if necessary, and how about 2-person seated carry? You could do that. So those are all reasonable answers. Okay, the last one. 6'3", 240-pound Sergio is passed out on the bathroom floor, and 5'4", 110-pound Stephanie, his girlfriend, is trying to move him into the bedroom out of the water that is flooding the bathroom.
Why are they in the bathroom together?
Well, he passed out.
They're
in the
not.
bathroom.
They're not. Yeah, exactly.
She passed out.
No need to make it dirty.
Yeah. Keep your mind out of the gutter, young lady.
Well, when
She
you say
heard
that,
him
you do
thump.
assume.
He's 6'3", 240. He made a thud. Okay? He made a thud.
Well, they didn't say that.
Okay? I wrote these, so I wasn't.
Flooding the
Okay, well, you
bathroom?
should have been more clear.
Yeah, thank you.
No one
He's that big.
They're generalized statements to get you thinking, okay?
Why were they in the
Now,
house
why would I
together
taught
alone?
you? What kind of,
Why were they in the house together alone?
Miss Someone, how would you move that person?
Time to lecture.
He's a lot bigger than her. He's almost a foot taller. He weighs 130 pounds more.
She can't probably afford it.
Probably carry him?
You think that little girl's gonna carry him?
No.
No. No. Delgado, while you're flipping through your Snapchat,
Yeah, wow, yeah.
ankle drag, yeah. That's probably the only option there.
But
Yeah. But
how
what?
would it fit through the door?
Well, she could get up through the doorway.
Like, did she grab her?
It's not like he's like this gigantic monster, person. He's big, he's 6'3", 240, but she's got to get him out of there or he's going to drown. Any questions about what we covered today in class? The moves, the Good Samaritan law, anything from you guys? We clear about all that? Delgado, tell me the bottom line of the Good Samaritan law. What's most important to remember in terms of protection from it?
The law requires use of common sense and a reasonable level of skill.
Right, exactly. Exactly.